Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Daniel James II, and you're listening to The Culture Connect, the podcast for the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs, where we're celebrating 30 years of building bridges to resources and closing gaps within South Carolina's ethnic minority communities. Inspired by the vision of our great Executive Director, Dr. Dolores DaCosta, we wanted to highlight the stories of ethnic minority voices across our great state of South Carolina. You're going to hear from HBCU presidents, civil rights icons, farmers, minority entrepreneurs, men and women, striving every day to make South Carolina a great place to live for all of its citizens. Be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss the notifications for the next episode of The Culture Connect on all digital platforms. Let's tune into the episode. Mr. Mike Gibson. Now, I know that I just called you by that name, but you actually have a nickname that you're known by. It's Gibby Sizz.
Gibby Sizz.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So when you think of Topiary, people's immediate reaction goes to like Edward Scissorhands, and I'm ambidextrous, so I clip with both hands. You know, I'm the youngest of three older sisters, and my oldest sister is left-handed. She's left-handed, and I was jealous of this talent that she had. So it was like, I want to do things left-handed. So it started small with, catching things with my left hand and throwing things or eating with a spoon. And eventually, years later, I developed this ambidextrous, ability to be able to do things with both hands. And it helps now to be able to clip with both hands. So as I'm throughout my career, I'm creating a bunch of topiary and I'm clipping both hands. Immediately, people are like, "Oh, you're like Edward Scissorhands. You're like Edward Scissorhands." And the people back home usually call me by my last name, Gibson, because how many, Gibson? You know a lot of Mikes, but how many Gibsons do you know? It's Gibson. It just rings in your ears like a guitar, right? I love it. It's like the guitar, it rings in your ears, right? But yeah, so people start calling me Gibby. Gibby Scissorhands became a name. So that was a great nickname, Gibby Scissorhands, because I'm Edward Scissorhands, clipping on top of a ladder, clipping trees really fast. But then it got shortened to just Gibby Sizz. Sizz for scissors, Gibby Sizz.
Well, listen, I am most definitely not ambidextrous. My right hand looks like I'm a full adult, but when I write with that left one, it's like a toddler.
Trying to learn again.
What happened? And I guess it is good you're ambidextrous too, because you sort of are a one-man show right now when you're doing the topiary work.
Juggling everything at once.
Literally. So tell us though, because a lot of people don't know, and it's been my own little course, even preparing to talk to you about learning about what is the topiary, what does a topiary artist or property artist do? Tell us that. What do you do from day to day? What is a topiary, and then what do you do from day to day as a topiary artist?
So you'd be surprised. You probably walk by a topiary every day and don't even notice it. And people will walk by shrubs all day and just think, oh, that's just a tree, that's just a plant, But technically, by definition, it is a topiary. So topiary is any tree or shrub that's shaped and pruned to any shape. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the shape is. It could be geometrical. It could be, abstract. It could be, something that you just created out of your mind, out of your imagination, like a dinosaur, right? But it doesn't have to look like a dinosaur. It can be whatever you want. And that's art. That's abstract art. So technically, anything that's trimmed in any shape or form is a topiary. So, what do I do? Well, my style is a little different. I call it illusion topiary. It's illusion art. When you think of the old cartoon, like is a lamp or an old lady. Okay. No offense to the old lady, but the old woman. I'm sorry. But it's the context of the cartoon. Yes. Okay. What is it? And you're like, oh, she has a do-rag on her head. Bonnet. She has this bonnet on her head. What is it? I see a lamp. You see this older woman. And that's what I do with my topiary. I create this illusion. I want you to be able to see something different from all angles. Every topiary is unique. So day to day, oh man, I don't say I work every day, but when I do, a topiary is it requires some thought. Sometimes I may sketch it out. I may have to see that on paper, but often it just comes to me. I tell people it's kind of like those kids that solve a Rubik's Cube. They look at the colors and they're like, all right, they set it down and they pick it up and like, I'm done. It's like, how? How do they do that?
Yeah.
That's what I do with a topiary. I kid you not. I'm looking at this plant behind you and I'm seeing a topiary. I see how it can be shaped into something else. Each tree has its own identity, and I'm bringing it out and enhancing it more for the public, and so that I create a public art piece of a living sculpture, and that is a topiary.
What I hear is that perception really matters and is everything in the art form that you do, how you see it.
It is.
And then you're able to shape how others see
right.
the world around them as well. So before we talk about your hair journey, or a journey, I guess, from switching topiary work as a side hustle to it being your full-time life's work, I do want to, first of all, talk about those threads. I mean, endurance sounds like it has been a huge part of your story, especially, from a young age. You're only 37. So 37,
yeah,
almost
36.
37.
I had a year on me.
6, right, but like 6, 7 years old, you start doing topiary work. That takes serious endurance. Mm-hmm. And I think I do want to talk about how you honed in on your authenticity when it comes to your craft. You talk about your father being a major influence in your life, but you have a hat on that says Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And it made me think about one of your other mentors or people that you learned from. I believe it's Mr. Jake Hobson and his work, and you learned it from his style of Japanese topiary art and that type of thing. Talk a little bit about the influence he had as well, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So I heard about Jake Hobson when I heard about Pearl Fryer. So at the same time, reason being is because Jake Hobson has a book called Creative Pruning. Okay. And when I heard about Pearl Fryer, I went on this mission of discovery. Okay. And I want to know everything about topiary. I'm like, man, who is this brother, this black man in South Carolina, in Bishopville, South Carolina, creating these immaculate, whimsical sculptures, and been doing it for years, since the 80s. This man is a legend and is considered to be one of the best topiary artists to ever live, hands down. Yeah, hands down. So when I hear about this man and I see the documentary, A Man Named Pearl, talk about inspiration, it inspired me to want to be a topiary artist. I was a property artist up until that day, and I said, "Wow, there's a black man. There's somebody I can relate to. There's a brother that's killing it and is world famous, world renowned, and he's a topiary artist. Well, he's older. So what's going to happen if he's not around? Right. Who's going to carry that torch? Right?
Absolutely.
So I stepped up and said, well, I'm already doing this. I'm going to be a topiary artist just like him. Yeah. I want to be like Pearl Fryer, not just like Pearl Fryer. I'm going to be better than Pearl Fryer. And you should want to be better than your mentor. You should be better, LeBron and all right, the LeBron Jordan convo is big, but LeBron should want to be better than Jordan. You shouldn't be, I want to be like that person. No, you should want to be better. You should want to supersede them. You want to go above and beyond, learn what you can, emulate what they're doing, and how can you perfect it? How can you change the game? Pearl changed the game. I want to do the same thing. So I went on a mission to want to do that. So this age of discovery, I hear about Pearl Fryer, and I go to a library and I check out every book I can find on topiary and any book that ever mentioned Pearl Fryer. I want to read everything about this man. I want to read everything about topiary. And I'm still a student today. I look at topiary every day. I kid you not. Every morning I wake up, I'm going to look at what somebody around the world is doing in topiary to help inspire my day. Yeah. Right? That's just what I do. I'm going to look up another garden. Oh, this garden has topiary. I never heard of this garden. What kind of topiary? Who's that artist? When did they start? What's their background? I want to learn all about it. Right? So essentially that's what I was doing with Pearl. I find this book, one of the many books. I went to the library and I took out like 20 books, carried them all, I'm walking back to the crib, and I reading through all these other books, and finally the next book was by Jake Hobson called Creative Pruning. And that book changed my entire perspective about what I was doing about topiary, because not only did it mention pearl, it also talked about other famous topiary all over the world, different styles of creative pruning techniques, and what you could do and what you could accomplish with topiary, and what these other artists have accomplished already. Mm-hmm. And that was mind blowing to me, because I never heard. Mm-hmm. I just recently heard about topiary in the world. But so 2016, I had the opportunity of meeting Pearl, picked his brain, and it was this unofficial mentor of mine. He's just giving me all this information. I'm opening up shrubs. How'd you do this? How'd you make this shape? Doesn't make sense. It's like, I use PVC pipe. PVC pipe? I'm like, how did you connect this brain? How's that even making that go? Oh, I use zip ties. Zip ties? Oh, I didn't think of that. I was using string. But zip ties, that's a good, string is something that you twine. Jute twine is not just string. I don't want to get anybody thinking that I'm just out here with, twiddling with some string. No, it's jute twine is the name for it. Right. So it was something that inspired me. But I came back every year. 2017, I returned. I said, I got to learn a little bit more, ask some more questions, pick this brain even more. And at this time, I'm showing them pictures of my work. Like, look what I'm doing, Pearl. You see, I'm taking what I learned. This is what I developed. This is where I'm at now. This is the evolution of it. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Oh, that looks good. You did that? Oh, wow, that's impressive, right? 2018, I came back again. I got to see my mans. It became a yearly trip. I even proposed to my wife in the garden. I proposed to my wife in the garden. Right?
That's a beautiful place. Proposal, marriage, everything.
Right. There's marriages that have been performed there. That's right. Many proposals happen there. There's a sculpture. There's two junipers, Juniperus chinesis, that go on an arch on this PVC pipe. In the middle of the sculpture is a metal scrap art, or junk art as Pearl will call it, that's scattered across this property that he will find in scrap yard and have a welder weld them together. It says love going down. It has hearts and it says love going down. Oh, that was the spot. Good thing I brought this ring with me. Good thing I brought this ring with me. So I'm connecting. Yes, I'm connecting the dots. So 2019, I returned. Got to see Pearl. Got to see Pearl again. But I didn't get a chance to see him in 2019. He was sick. I didn't have the opportunity to see him, but I saw the garden. I was there. So we made a plan. I said, I'm coming down. I got to figure out, and I was like, all right, maybe, in Ohio, it's winter for 6 months. So I'm like, all right, when the snow clear, I don't know what snow is. When the blizzard, the 12 inches of snow clear, that stays on the ground for a consistent 3 months, doesn't leave. You don't see grass for 3 months. I'm going to make a way down here and find out. So March 21st of 2021, we're still in this pandemic. It's going crazy now. We get down there. Consequently, my wife has a sister and her husband live in Colombia already. So we were already visiting them. So we're like, okay, we're going to go down there for our yearly trip. I'm going to go see Pearl. I'm bringing my trimmers. I'm bringing my shears. I'm about to help this garden. I'm going to do something, even if for a day. If I could trim one tree in this garden, I'm living. This is great. I'm driving down Broad, that's a street, Broad Acres with Pearl. I'm driving down the street and I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to go trim Pearl. I'm about to just pop up one. He like, no, I'm just about to get out the car. I'm like, hey Pearl, I'm like, where am I? I'm about to trim your bushes. I get there and I hear it. Zzz, I roll down the window. What's that noise? Okay, somebody else doing some yard work. But then I get closer. It's a curve, a bend, as you come around to Pearl's yard. You come around this bend, then it's revealed. And you see these giant Hollywood junipers, these 35-foot, sculptures that he created, which people have started calling the selling ships. So I'm seeing the selling ships and I see this green lift. I see this lift. this JLG lift. Somebody's on the lift and somebody's leaning over and they're trimming. And then somebody on the ground, they trim.
Betrayed.
Betrayal. Somebody beat me to it. And I get a chance to talk to some of these people. Now I'm talking to them and they're like, yeah, we were hired by the University of South Carolina and the Atlanta Botanical Garden. They're trying to they just applied for a grant and they hired us to do this hard shearing because they want to make sure that it's possible that they can take on this. They're looking for somebody. They're looking for like a topiary artist, but I've never met a topiary artist besides Pearl. I don't know no topiary artist, so we're just out here trying to make it look nice. I'm sorry, what was that again? You said you're looking for what? You looking for a topiary artist? What are the odds? Mm-hmm. What are the odds? You're looking for a topiary, specifically a topiary artist. I recently my podcast said, I should probably tell you who I am. I'm Mike Gibson, topiary artist from Youngstown, Ohio. Right? I've created at this time. I've already created over 330 topiaries in my career. Mm-hmm. So he like, all right, you gotta meet Jane Prisby from the McKissick Museum. She's the executive director at the McKissick Museum. Mm-hmm. She's the one that put all this together. You gotta meet her. I'm like, where's she at? Well, I'm here for a couple of days. Let's get this cracking. I'm serious about helping out. If they hired y'all to do this, why can't they hire me to do this? I'm a topiary artist. That's right. Y'all not. I can probably do a little bit better. I can fine tune and add more detail to what you guys are doing. I've been studying Pearl's work for years. I understand the style. I understand how these should look. And even if they aren't exactly what he did, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to look great, right? Mm-hmm. So this man's picked up the phone and was like, I'll do you one better. I'll give her a call. The next day, I meet Jane and we walk the grounds for like 3 hours talking. She just wants to know everything about me. Yeah. I started when I was 7. Create 330 Topia. This is what I've done. I just finished a show that's about to come out. This is March of 21. The show that we just filmed last fall, is about to come out in May. It didn't come out yet. So I'm like, I just did a TV show on HGTV.
Martha Stewart.
With Martha Stewart. And got a name dropped that. And then Martha Stewart, Michael Urie, Chris Lambton, and you gotta put it out there. But that helped. That helped. They're like, okay, well, let me take your information and present it to our committee that put this together and see where we at. Now, here's where it gets even better. Mm-hmm. When I meet Jane, she goes back to this committee and gives my name. Immediately, Pam Governale from the Garden Conservancy responds and says, Mike Gibson from Youngstown, Ohio. I've been looking for his name for years.
Wow.
That's the guy. He reached out to me years ago and been wanting to help. We need him.
Yeah.
That's our guy.
So beautiful.
So they were like, okay, perfect. That's our topiary artist in resident.
I love it.
At the end of May 29th, I got the call and said, we got the grant. We got the grant. Do you want to be our topiary artist in resident? Yeah. What do you mean? And they're like, but you live in Youngstown. You're going to have to move here. It's for a year. I'm like, oh. Well, we were already wanting to move here in 2019. Yeah. We were already wanting to move here. We're ready. So let me get my affairs, in order. And then this is in May. And August 31st, moved down to Columbia, South Carolina to accept the position as a topiary artist in resident. And September 1st, I went to Pearl's Garden to get started so that 3 years later, she would know who I was. Yeah. Sure. I had to show up. I had to see that post on Facebook. If I didn't see that post, would I have went to Pearl's? Eventually, yes, because we didn't go during COVID, but so eventually, yeah, I was going to go down to see Pearl, but I had no clue of this venture that was happening before my eyes. I would have missed that opportunity. It all had to happen perfectly. And I'm glad it did, because I came down. That's how I ended up in South Carolina in the Midlands and Soda City, right? Yeah. And now I've been working on beautifying Columbia like I did Youngstown. Yeah.
Truly what God has for you is for you.
Yeah.
And I am just excited about the work that you're going to continue to do. You mentioned earlier about the fact that I'm sure there's other topiary artists you could have learned from and been under their tutelage, but you had to be under the tutelage of Mr. Pearl Fryer. You had to be there at that moment because you were needed in this area, truly. There would have been a void, or there will be a void in years if we didn't have Mr. Mike Gibson here. So I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful you're continuing to do the work. We talked a little bit before we began the episode about opportunities to pour into young people because you're a one-man show right now. You have, I don't know if you're still working under the label of Gibson Work Property Art, but
it's just Gibson Works.
Gibson Works now, okay. And
Gibson Works LLC, technical.
Gibson Work Property Art LLC. And there are plenty of young people that need sort of the skills that you have to teach and want to learn or are interested in doing the type of thing. They may be a little entrepreneur just cutting grass, but they may want to get into pruning shrubbery or pruning bushes or learning about topiary. Had there been any opportunities for you to mentor, or are you looking for those ways and avenues? I know that you've hosted a lot of topiary workshops with the Mr. Ernest A. Finney Jr. Cultural Art Center, or you're looking to once it opens. But are there any opportunities to mentor that you're looking into right now?
Well, great question. So currently, yes, I want to teach as much to young people about topiary as possible. I want to teach everyone, no matter the age. As I'm getting older now and has been doing it, people are like, "Oh, you're only 36. Oh, you're young." But I've been doing this for a long time now. My body's starting to break down on me, So, and I used to run track in high school, so I have injuries from track from years ago, and running in college, and so now I want to show people how topiary changed my life and it can change others. I don't know where I'd be without doing topiary. I don't know where I'd be if my father never made me do the yard every day. I thank him. He's like, I didn't do anything. It was a chore. I told you to do it, you did it. Yeah, but I'm like, but it was that persistence, that determination, that dedication of doing it every day that helped fuel, my career now. And that is something I want to teach to the young folk. I started when I was 7. Why can't I teach classes to 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds and younger people? I want to develop an apprenticeship program in high schools. You start when you're in 9th grade, and by the time you're a senior, you not only are skilled in horticulture, but you're able to take certification tests and become certified as a horticulturalist. Why are we waiting for kids to go to college to find out about horticulture? Why? I knew topiary, but I didn't know topiary was under the umbrella of horticulture, right? And it's like, maybe if I knew of that younger, maybe that could have been my direction. Maybe I could have got a degree in horticulture earlier on. Not saying I still can, but this is something that children need and younger people need to know now. So when you speak of the topiary therapy workshops and just workshops in general, or teaching people, yes, that is something I'm actively pursuing, especially going into the next year. I plan on speaking at schools more and getting more involved with the younger generation. That's going to be my focus because it can help change the generation. My philosophy, and people can disagree, but my philosophy is the more topiary in any given space helps produce more peace and more love. When you look at a topiary, and we said this earlier, when you think of topiary, you're thinking well, affluent, suburban areas, right? But when you see that's just that thought is very positive. So when you talk about topiary and you think of it, when you see it, it should bring a smile to your face. Just like a beautiful landscape, a beautiful garden. You drive by, you're like, that is nice, right? Oh, that's a nice spiral. What is that topiary? What's going on? You go to Pearls, and that was Pearl's message: love, peace, and goodwill. I want you to come in and feel the love. I want you to leave feeling more peace and go forth spreading goodwill to your communities. That's Pearl's message.
Yeah.
That's his ideology. That's something that I want to continue. I don't want that to be forgotten. Everybody should know this. Yeah. And topiary is something that can change lives. It can change the world. Just like Pearl became a mentor to me, and I learned some of his style. The beauty of social media. I've been teaching people all over the world. People, just it can be little conversations, little quick DMs, or comments on a picture. I'm able to help inspire, and people now are making Mike Gibson-esque topiaries.
Yeah.
From being inspired by what I created. I want to do that for the next generation and generations to come. I want people to look at me like I look at Pearl Fry. I want people to say, oh, he's one of the GOATs. I want people to look at it and want to do the same. I want everybody to be a GOAT. Go out and start trimming some topiary. Learn, be patient, be confident, right? Be you, be original, and find your own style. And find a new avenue that not only could be therapeutic to you, but it could be life-changing and a career-wise that can inspire you in anything that you do. You may not become just a topiary artist. You can be a doctor, a surgeon, whatever it may be. But you're doing topiary on the side to help enhance your career. I guarantee it. I'm going to put a stamp on it. I guarantee it that topiary will change your life just by picking up a pair of shears and starting to learn.
Real quick, what's the Gibson style of topiary, if you had to tell us?
Well, like I mentioned this earlier, that my style is this illusion topiary, very whimsical, but it's emulated, but not quite duplicated. People are trying it, they're trying Gibson-esque styles. But one thing that you'll see people starting to use is the Gibson spiral. The Gibson spiral, and I call it the Gibson spiral, and it's not talking a spiral that is columnar and is going up. No, I'm talking about like a cinnamon roll that's in front of your face, right? And I started incorporating sacred geometry into my pieces.
What'd you say?
Sacred geometry. Sacred geometry. It's not sacred. I mean, it's just. It's a ideology of other shapes out there and how the universe operates. So everything in life is connected through the golden spiral, and it's called the Fibonacci sequence. The Gibson spiral is a Fibonacci spiral, or golden spiral, what it's called, based off of the golden ratio, which is everything. I think of a nautilus shell, a snail, or a simple seashell has a spiral. That's what the Gibson spiral is. It starts small and it grows, but the idea is it's in the shape of a G. That's why it's a Gibson spiral. And it became my signature. And I try to add it to almost every piece that I do. I try to sneak it in there somehow, in some way, in variations of a Gibson spiral. So there's this Fibonacci sequence that's in the shape of a G, and that becomes the Gibson spiral.
That's your signature.
Yeah, that's my signature. Because I'm like, my father asked me, he's like, so how are you signing? How do people know this is your work? Well, I'm like, nobody else is doing it. That's how people know it's my work.
As we close out our time together today, Mr. Mike, again, you've hit some national platforms, state platforms. You're poised to have a similar legacy, and even greater than what some of your predecessors have had, your father, Mr. Hobson, Mr. Fryer. I want to ask you, what do you want your legacy to be? And what do you want your legacy to be as it relates to topiary work, or just in general as an artist?
Yeah, I want my legacy, I want to be able to leave a legacy that is inspiring. My legacy, I should say, should be life-changing. I want to revolutionize the world of topiary and what is possible. I want people to look at my work as they do Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel. And this is ridiculously what he created. I want people to look at, my work and like, there's only one Mike Gibson. There's only one Pearl Fryer. There's only one Jordan. There's only one LeBron. There's only one Mike Gibson. I want to be able to leave a legacy that is not only inspiring, but is uplifting and is a change of positivity. So when you think of Mike Gibson, it should be all positive thoughts. When you think of topiary, you should associate it with a Mike Gibson topiary, a Gibson spiral. Gibson did that sculpture over there at the Guggenheim. Gibson did the sculpture at the International African American Museum. Calling it now. Tell him.
That's right.
Walter Hood.
Let him know.
Walter Hood is a phenomenal Black landscape architect who designed the landscape architect. I went down there for the opening. I'm a charter member, actually.
I saw some pictures from that. Yes.
Oh man, it's amazing. It's an amazing museum. But as in legacy wise, I want to change the game all the way around as just an artist, but educationally wise as well. One thing that I guess everybody should have an end goal. My end goal is the Gibson Works Topiary Institute. I'm thinking like a Booker T. Washington, Tuskegee Institute, and developing a place where people can go and learn about all things topiary, horticulture, topiary, gardening, agriculture. I want to be able to house that. That's my legacy I want to leave behind. That's something I'm working on now. I'm working on educational platform to teach people that you can purchase this online self-paced masterclass, and you can learn about the style of Mike Gibson topiary. You can learn about creative pruning techniques and the art of topiary. You can learn this into the comfort of your own home. I want that to be my legacy, and that's what I'm leaving behind. That's what I'm currently working on. That is going to be the evolution of what I evolved to, is being this educator and teaching the world how topiary is this catalyst for change and this catalyst for peace, right? That's what it's going to be. In the future, I see sustainable gardening and topiary everywhere. I see topiary in every building. And I see a plant behind us, this fake artificial plant there. But why can't it be a topiary? It's in front of a window. It could be a living plant right there. There's trees that can survive in this climate. All around this building that I'm at, I see topiary in front of it. All up and down the street in Columbia should be topiary. Every city. Imagine, you put more topiary in any given space, it becomes positive. It becomes a peaceful realm. So with that in mind, this is the Gibson philosophy of topiary that you will learn at the Gibson Works Topiary Institute. But you put topiary in any given space, it can change a community, it can change a city, it'll change the state, it'll change the country, it can change the world. More topiary. That's what we need. And of course, with some other added additives there, but that's something that goes with it. It should be when you're planning a city, when you're planning a new development, put topiary. When you're planning a new park, topiary needs to be in there. It needs to be able to inspire these young children. They're playing on these jungle gyms and slides. They should be able to slide down and see a beautiful dinosaur sculpture of a topiary. It's carved out of a giant juniper tree. Wouldn't that change your life? You was a kid. You came on the slide and you said, "Whoa, that's a tree. That's a living tree."
I still am a kid.
No, you're a young man. Yes. You're a young man. But there's something that should be changing, and that's my goal. That's my goal in life, is to change everybody's mindset through topiary. It changed mine. Why can't it change yours?
That's so good. It's so good to talk to an artist too, because I think talking to you, it can change the way that people see the world. And I hope that through this institute and the work that you continue to do, you can change not only how the Midlands or South Carolina or wherever else you go looks, but you can also change the way that people perceive of these areas and how they look and see the world,
Right.
and that it will be more beautiful and peaceful as well. So yeah.
There's been countless amount of studies. I mean, there's a study in Philadelphia that's ongoing right now, study in Baltimore as well, where they helped beautify vacant lots and watched how it also helped decrease the crime in those areas, because crime happens where it looks like it can happen.
Yeah.
You know, I also I hold a certification in CEPTID, which is crime prevention through environmental design. I have a certification in this, and I learned through this course of how to design neighborhoods and cities and landscapes, and how you can be more crime preventive through certain things like, you know, pruning up a tree so nobody's hiding behind it. You know, there's a vacant lot. There's a broken glass theory that people probably, if you took, you know, psychology courses, psychiatry courses, you'll learn this broken glass theory, and it means that where there's broken glass, there's probably going to be more broken glass, where it's probably a bed for crime. But if I put topiary all in there and we beautify the hood, is it still the hood? Will criminal activity still happen there? That's a theory that we need to test out, and we need to actively plant trees, because not only are you helping the biodiversity, you're also creating better airflow in that neighborhood, and there's a bunch of other things that can happen. I mean, obviously, we need better jobs. We need, you know, redline and put us in this situation. You know, systemic racism is further and put a foot on Black people's necks that prevent them from getting out of some of these situations. But there are ways that we can help combat some of this, and I feel that by connecting people more with nature, it produces more positive endorphins in your mind and your body to want to do peaceful things and more loving things.
I love it. Mr. Mike Gibson, how can people stay in touch with you and what you're doing? Social media, digital platforms.
You can find me on Instagram at Gibby, Gibby _Siz, SIZ, or visit my business page. Also on Instagram is Gibson, GIBSON _works, WORKS. You can see some of my business stuff on there as well, and different properties that I've beautified. You can find me on LinkedIn, Mike Gibson. You can find me on Facebook, Gibson Works. You know, there's a number of things you can find me at. And definitely all of those are linked within my website at Gibson Topiary, GibsonTopiary.com. GibsonTopiary.com will lead you to all you need to know. Or just a simple search, Mike Gibson Topiary will lead you down the rabbit hole of countless amount of articles and videos and great pictures of topiary.
I love it. Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Mike Gibson.
I appreciate it.
It's the Culture Connect. We'll see you next time, everybody. Did you enjoy the episode? I hope you did. Be sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and connect with us on all digital platforms so you don't miss the next episode of the Culture Connect. We'll see you next time, everybody.